Anyone who has played Grand Peace Online has probably experienced a boss fight. Grand Peace Online has a lot of bosses ranging from Bandit Boss all the way to Captain Zen, a boss based off of Whitebeard from One Piece. The boss fights are usually pretty simple, and the universal strategy is just to overwhelm the boss with numbers and try to stun him for the longest time possible. There are also ways to solo bosses using ranged moves, and those are pretty effective too. In today's video, I'm going to be listing some bosses that I would like to see added to Grand Peace Online. Make sure to leave a comment down below on what bosses you would like to see added, and I'll make sure to read all the comments. The first boss I'd like to suggest would be a Mihawk boss. Mihawk's Yoru has been showcased in sneak peeks for months, but there is no confirmed date for when we will see Mihawk added to the game or his sword. One way that I could see this boss working would be that they utilize his boat, which is already in the game, to create a rare ship spawn that only spawns after players with max bounty. This ship spawn would be Mihawk's coffin boat, and it would have the Mihawk boss on it. I'm not sure how you could make this work, since Mihawk would have to stop sailing and to use his attacks, and that is the key flaw with this suggestion. So I think putting the Mihawk boss on an island would make more sense. I would like to see him drop his boat though, since I'm a big supporter of making all Game Pass items obtainable through farming in the base game. Other Mihawk drops could be his hat, and of course his iconic sword, Yoru. And the second boss on my list is a little more underwhelming than Mihawk, but is still one of my favourite antagonists from One Piece. The character I'm talking about is the armoured villain Don Krieg. So Don Krieg is a hit or miss with One Piece fans, but I personally like his character and his cool weapons. I think he would make an interesting boss since he has a range of unique weapons which would make for interesting mechanics in a boss fight. He could also be the first boss to utilise poison gas, since that's one of his powers in the anime. I'd also like to see this boss drop his golden armour and his cool spear, which has an interesting explosion move, which I think will be a block break in Grand Peace Online. I don't think there will be enough room to fit this boss inside Baratier, so I think that he would be most likely located on his ship outside of Baratier, but this is actually more accurate than putting him inside the restaurant, since the fight between him and Luffy takes place on his partially destroyed ship. The third boss that I'm going to mention is especially relevant right now in Grand Peace Online, since we know that the Sand fruit is coming soon, and potentially Alabasta too. If you haven't caught on, the boss that I'm talking about is the antagonist of the Alabasta arc, Crocodile. Crocodile would of course have his sand fruit powers, but I'd also like to see him utilize his golden hook as a close range weapon. This boss would be located on Alabasta somewhere, perhaps inside one of the palaces, and I think this boss would drop his golden hook and his cape. I can't think of any other boss drops for Crocodile, so I'll leave it at that. The fourth boss that I want to talk about is actually two separate bosses, but they're so inseparable that I had to include them as one. I'm of course referring to the giants of Little Garden, Dory and Broggy from One Piece, and I would love to see these characters added to the game, since they'd be the first giant bosses, and just seeing a boss of that scale would be very impressive. And the boss fight itself would probably be pretty simple, with Dory and Broggy using their huge weapons to create large AoE attacks. I think they would probably drop their giant armor and weapons, and that would probably be downsized to actually fit a normal height player. These weapons could be Dory's sword and Broggy's axe. And the fifth boss that I want to talk about is Gekko Moria. So Gekko Moria is the antagonist of the Thriller Bark arc, and overall looks very strange. He possesses a really interesting devil fruit which allows him to effectively bring the dead back to life, and in Grand Peace Online I think this would translate to him having the ability that allows him to summon zombies from the ground. I imagine this would make for a cool boss mechanic, since he could summon waves of stronger and stronger zombies the further you got into the boss fight. I have no idea what this boss would drop. The only boss drop idea that comes to mind would be his jacket, and the next boss that I want to talk about would be the ex-Warden of Impel Down, Magellan. So Magellan has an awesome devil fruit, and that would look amazing in Grand Peace Online. Magellan uses his powers to create huge monsters out of poison, and the two most memorable of these monsters would be the Hydra and his ultimate ability, the Venom Demon form. I think both of these would look very cool in Grand Peace Online, and I would imagine he would transform into his Venom Demon form after falling below half health. I think Magellan would probably drop his outfit, but other than that I'm not sure what his drop would be. Anyway, that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. We are pretty close to 6,500 subscribers, and I really appreciate the recent support of my videos. And I upload daily, so keep an eye out for any new content, and yeah, see you next time, bye.